Okay, so this week we're going to work on a tower building game. And first thing we need to do is we need to go to a backdrop, and I'll use a city backdrop. And you can pick a backdrop that you like. Here's my city backdrop. I'm going to get rid of the cat. And the next thing I need to do is I need to put in a paddle. So I'll go over here and I'll search, for a paddle. Alright, so here's my paddle, and the paddle is going to be like a brick for the game, and it's going to, we're going to be building. Okay, so we're going to work with variables this week, and variable is something that can change. So we're going to go to variables, and we're going to make a few variables. First variable we're going to make is going to be called score. So there's our score variable. We're also going to make a variable that's called tower. Tower X we'll call it, and we'll do OK. And you can unclick it because we don't need that on the screen. So we unclick it, it disappears. We're not going to need that for our game this week. And the next thing we need to do is we need to add extensions. So if you go over here, extensions, and we're going to add drawing in here. Okay, so I already had the drawing, but if you don't have the drawing, you get the drawing pens here. So add the extension here, and then you add the pen. That way you have your drawing. Okay, so we have to add that in so that we can make our code. So on the side, we're going to go to events, and we're going to go when the flag is clicked, and that's when we're going to start our code. So we got our flag first. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to variables. So we're going to go to our variables. And we need to use our set variables. So we're going to set our score to 0 when we start our code. And we're also going to set our tower to 0. So tower to 0. Okay, so those are both going to be at 0 when we start our game. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the pen down there, and we're going to erase because you want a blank screen when you start your game. Then we're going to go to motion, and we're going to put where we want the panel to be. So we're going to go to, and we want it to be low. So we'll make it X0. X0, we're going to make it in the center, and then we'll make Y negative 140. Oh, and I forgot one thing. I forgot to put the set rotation style. So make sure you have set rotation style over here, and when you set rotation, don't rotate. Not to put that in, we don't want to rotate. So we want X0 down here. That means we're going to be in the center, and negative 140 means we're going to put it down here. We want the paddle down here, and we want to stamp. So we go to pen, and we're going to stamp because we want it to stay. When you stamp it, it makes it stay. Now we're going to go to control repeat loop. The repeat loop, we want to repeat 24 times. And what do we want to repeat 24 times? We want some motion in our game. So we're going to go motion, and we're going to, well, let's do go to first. We're going to do go to, and we want to say go to, and we want X to be 0. And we want to put the Y farther up. So well, let's put Y at 130. So this means we're going to have a paddle down here, and we're also going to have a paddle up here. And that paddle is going to be going back and forth. So that's why when you have a high Y, the paddle goes up, and a low Y, the paddle goes down. So we want to use repeat until. We'll do control, and we'll do repeat until. And we're going to use 2 of those. But first we'll use the first one over here. And you don't want to put it outside. You want to put it all the way inside. Okay, so put it inside. And repeat until sensing. Repeat until spacebar is pressed. Okay, so what do we want to happen until the spacebar is pressed? We want the paddle to go back and forth. So here's how we're going to do that. We'll go to motion. We'll do move 10 steps. And if you want to make this a little bit more fancy, you can go to operations. You can say pick random. And you could make this 1 to 50 if you want, or whatever you want to do. The higher the number, the faster it goes. Excuse me. So if you put this 20 to 100, it's going to go much faster than if you put pick random 1 to 50. So this means the paddle is going to be moving either 1 to 50 steps, and that's in a repeat loop. And then what we want is that if it's on the edge, it's going to bounce. And then when on edge bounce means then it starts going back this way. So we go to motion, and we're going to go on if edge bounce. If edge bounce. So we put that right in there. Okay, so that's going to make the paddle go back and forth. And if it's on the edge, it bounces and starts going the other way. We're going to go back to control. Repeat until, and we put that right out here. Okay, we put that in here. And now let me stop it so it doesn't keep going. Repeat until, and then we go to sensing again. And we're going to have touching color. Repeat until it's touching the color. And we want this green color here. So we're going to go repeat until, touching, and pick the green color. Okay, The next thing we want to do, and I put the top green, it's a little bit lighter. The next thing we want to do is we want to look at motion. Okay, we want to look at motion, and we want to say change y. So there's change y. Change y is here. Change y by -10. That's how you get it to fall. Y is up and down. So we want to change y by -10. That makes it fall down. And then we'll go to the drawing here, and we're going to stamp it. That way you can see it. So change y by -10. Put the stamp out here. Okay. So if touching color green, change y by -10 and stamp. Now this next part gets a little tricky. So we'll go nice and slow. Variables, and we're going to say change my variable, and we'll put it right here. I'm going to say change score. Okay, change score by, now here's the tricky part. We're going to go to operations and minus. Okay, operations minus, and here's, watch me. I go get another minus and I put it right like that. So now we have 3 of them. Okay, so I put a green operations and I put 3 circles like this. I have 2 minuses that I use. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to put 100 here. Okay, and the next thing, after we put 100 here, we need to put absolute value here. So you see it says absolute value. Absolute value means you don't use a negative number. Like rather than -200, you would just say call it 200. And you're going to put it right in the center. So take this absolute value and put it right in the center there. You see it lights up? Right there like that. Okay? Now I go to variables and tower X. Sorry about that. I put tower X like this. I put it right in there in the center one. And then I'm going to go to motion and I'm going to go to X position. Okay, we're almost done. This is the trickiest part. Okay, so 100 minus the absolute value of tower X minus the X position. And the last thing I do with my variables, I'm going to set the tower X to, put it right underneath here, set it to motion, and I'm going to go to my X position. My X position right over here. Okay, so now when I start the game, it goes back and forth. So here's our repeat. We pick random steps here, 1 to 50, and it's moving if it's on the edge of bounds. So it keeps repeating until I touch the space bar. And when I touch the space bar, it makes a little tower there, you see? And when I click the space bar, Y changes by -10, that's how it falls. So let's take a look. I go over here. I didn't do the game properly. If you missed the game's over. So let's go over here. Let's see if I can do it again. Okay, now I'm building a little tower, and it's going up. Okay, so that's our game. And the trickiest part here, so you see I try to build a tower, and if you're wrong, and if you go to the side here, the game ends. So you want to make a tower. A few things I just want to mention. This is the trickiest part here, the absolute value of minus tower X minus the Y position. Remember, I went to operations, and I went like this. I went minus, and then I put 100 in here, put 100. And then I put absolute value of, I put that in the center there. And then I went to variables. And I went to tower X. I put the tower X in there. And then I went to X position, which was motion and X position. Okay, so that's the trickiest part of the assignment. And once again, if you need the writing for erase all stamp, you got to add the extension in here. So that's our project for this week, the tower builder. And as you can see, as you play the game, your score should go up. Okay, so I didn't do it right. So if you go back and forth, your score will keep adding as you make a better tower, and your score should keep going up. Okay, so that's our project for this week. When you're done, you can do File, Save Now, and you also can take a picture of your project, please, and turn it into Google Classroom.